This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Most of you have seen this clip included in some of my videos about the Iranian news anchor, the viral video where the anchor was on air, not to mention the fact that it's a female anchor in Iran, which, of course, all we've heard about is how anti-women they are over there, but they'll take their news and information from a woman, apparently. This story that is out there is incredible. And they've actually taken this woman and made her into a hero. And I want to go into detail about this because what we've just seen is a story that is so fake where a bomb hits the news station, right? And I'm not saying that the station wasn't blown up, and I'm not saying that there's not casualties over there. I'm not saying everything over there is green screen. But when that clip aired, the majority of people who weren't completely asleep were saying, how fake is that? A bomb hits, the woman got up, she ran off, and then came back on the air. Just imagine if a bomb hit your house or your workplace. Would you run out into the hallway and then return to your desk? Or would you leave the building and never come back? Think about Oklahoma City, right? Where people running back into the building who had, still had their desk in place with that giant hole in the side and say, hey, I'm just going to finish up I got a phone call. I got a meeting at 10 with a salesperson from over in Nebraska. No, of course not. It wasn't natural. So that being said, they put all this propaganda out there about the Iranian anchor being a hero, and people were questioning the validity of it. So naturally, the mainstream media, CNN specifically, wanted you to see inside the news studio. And it's one of the funnier clips you will see, which I'll play for you in a few minutes, where they go inside, they want to show you specifically the desk burnt to the ground because people are questioning the story. So that's how the news works, right? They put this out there. They don't expect people to question it and say that it's fake. They watch the response online because the online is obviously their massive database that they watch and they see what people are talking about. And that's how they strategically maneuver in one way or the other, or pivot from this direction to the next. And many people out there were saying, how fake is that? A little smoke, she looked at the camera, she ran off, she came back. If you didn't see the clip, let me play it for you real quick for everybody out there.
Meanwhile, Israel carried out a surprise attack on Tehran, one of which hit a state-run TV station. Take a look. You can see that news anchor left the desk as debris shot out into the studio there. Iran condemned the attack on the television building, calling it a war crime.
Okay, so that's the clip that people were questioning. And again, that's not how a person would respond if a bomb hit their home, if a bomb hit their their workplace or a grocery. You want to go back right inside. But that's what happened. The Iranian TV presenter went back on air, and they're calling this Iranian anchor a hero. And the fact that it's a female makes it even funnier because obviously there's so many stories of women's rights in Iran, but these people are going to get their news from a female, right? So what you're seeing is characters in war, manufactured characters who become the face of courage and bravery. That's what the role is of this news anchor. Whenever the people need a hero, we shall supply him. Albert Pike. These are little things they put into their stories out there to suck people in even deeper into the psychosis. And again, I'm not saying that civilians aren't being killed. I'm not saying that buildings aren't being detonated. What I'm saying is this is the illusion of war. They want you to think Israel is only going after TV, run media, state-run media, and they're only going after military bases. Both Israel and Iran are attacking civilians only. That's who's being attacked. But it's so important during a quote-unquote war to make people believe in one side versus the other. So that's what we're seeing right now in America, right? Just like Albert Pike's blueprint said about World War III, how people and countries will become more and more divided. Divide them down to the point where they don't even trust or respect the people in their own house because they have different opinions than they do. So they're creating heroes here, right? They did it with Donald Trump, with the fake assassination. That put Trump in a different stratosphere. I talked about it at the time. The videos are available on the website. That photograph, it was all about getting the photo. I even broke down the photographer, how they ran him to that side of the stage. They had to get this picture because this picture creates the psychosis. This is the picture. This is the moment. This is people. This is how they're deeply rooted in the psyop that is Donald Trump and thinking that he's a hero and that they actually tried to kill him. They created a hero. We saw this with Zelensky, right? Zelensky, an actor turned president of Ukraine. The guy was literally an actor. He was on shows, dancing, doing all sorts of things, and then he becomes a hero, right? And this is straight out of Wag the Dog. What you saw with that news anchor is very similar to this character in the movie Wag the Dog. If you haven't seen Wag the Dog, I highly recommend you take the time to watch it. I would never recommend a Hollywood movie to you unless, of course, there was something to gain from it. Not the message of, oh, it's a great script and it's a nice love story. Showing you these things ahead of time. Predictive programming specifically, right? We all talk about predictive programming, how we see this. Well, Wag the Dog shows you exactly how they manufacture war. And Schumann, the Shoe Man, is one of the characters in the movie that they create. They create a character from the war to get people more psychologically invested in the war. They create a song for him and then pretend that the song was released in the 1920s and it's just turning back up. They make a song, they manufacture it, they manufacture a character. They start throwing shoes over telephone poles and into trees, and all the people, monkey see, monkey do. They see it on TV, the news shows them, then they go do it. And they say, we support our troop over there, get him home. They manufacture war. Take a look at this clip real fast.
We've just received this photograph of Schumann in captivity. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Morse code. You'll see his sweater is worn. Those places form dashes and dots. Those dots spell out a message in the Morse code. That message is, courage, Mom. You got the message through. Courage, Mom. I'm told his unit mates gave him the nickname Old Shoe.
Now we're going to need a new song. I think it should be a song about a shoe, a good old shoe. We need a new song, okay? A good old shoe song. It should be a ballad of loss and redemption is very, very good.
Daddy had a hound dog, be a good old shoe.
Old shoe.
Hey, good old shoe, good old shoe. Old shoe.
I have just been handed this, something just discovered, a 1930s recording, part of the Library of Congress, and a fitting song, if I may say so, about Schumann.
As we reported earlier, U.S. serviceman Willie Schumann remains missing behind enemy lines.
Thinking ahead, that's what producing is.
It's like being a plumber.
Yes, like being a plumber.
Sergeant William Schumann, the Old Shoe.
Want to go first? Sure.
Go on, tell your friends.
Jim, could I get a word with you, please?
Yes, there is one thing I'd like to say, and this is to the Albanian that have this man in custody. I mean this from the bottom of my heart as one of your race. I'm Shqiptar. Nuk la fosse shumë mire.
I didn't know Jim Belushi was Albanian.
WBLW Newsroom, the search for Willie Schumann continues.
Great and proud the way he taught you.
Right? So it's very similar to obviously the news anchor. The news anchor is on the air. It's a woman. She runs off. She runs back on. This plays into the Democrats, obviously, who are pro-Palestine. And they don't want the Democrats out there to realize that, in Iran, women don't really have rights. And then the conservatives yell about how women don't have rights and they don't want to believe it because they say, well, there's a news anchor who's a woman. I mean, it's amazing, right? And remember the clip I played for you about the pagers going off and how 60 Minutes actually had Mossad, a so-called Mossad agent on air who was actually admitting to the fact that they manufacture and produce the news, that the world is a stage to them.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
So that being said, the world is obviously a stage. So going back to the beginning with the news anchor who went on the air, had a bomb go off, people questioned the story. So CNN naturally had to go to the location to show you that it was real, right? So they go to the location. Now you could question if it's a green screen or not, or you can question maybe they just detonated the actual building. Maybe it's a completely different building, but they want you to believe in that hero that they created. So they go to the building, and conveniently, he walks right up to the desk, right? And what does this do in people's mind? We're at the desk of the woman where a bomb went off. Now, her desk didn't catch fire. She went back on the air 5 minutes later. But, we got to show you the desk because it creates something in your mind. Wow, that brave woman who was on the air, who stayed on the air, who was defiant, who refused to lay down to the tyranny, refused to lay down to the enemy. She stood up. She stood strong. She went back on the air, right? This is what they aired, and they were doing everything they could to convince you that that story was real, because that's what the news has to do. If you question something on it, they'll go further to make sure nobody out there wakes up to their lies. They'll go further into the psyop by creating more into the psyop. So people go, what do you say that they staged that? What do you say that they put a desk there? No, they could show you any desk that's lit on fire. They want you to believe that that woman is a hero because that's the woman that they're using as a face and a focal point in this psychological war. And of course, this comes back to America. Why is that airing in America? Why are we hearing about this Iranian anchor? Well, because the Democrats out there are talking about her like she's a hero. And the conservatives are talking about the entire story being potentially fake, which of course it is. But look at what CNN aired.
We're inside the Iranian state broadcasting company, IRIB, which was hit by an Israeli airstrike a couple of days ago. And you can see the damage is absolutely massive. I'm standing in the atrium right now, but if you look around, this whole area has been completely destroyed. All of the offices, all of the technology that they have inside here, the broadcast technology, everything has been rendered pretty much useless. All right, so we're going to go inside the building now. They have told us that we need to be very careful because obviously there might still be unexploded parts of bombs in here or something like that. What we see here is the actual studio where an Iranian state TV anchor was sitting and reading the news when the strike hit. You can see here that is an anchor desk right there. And of course, when it happened, the anchor was reading the news and then all of a sudden there was a thud. The studio went black. At the beginning, she got up and left, but then later apparently came back and finished the newscast and is now being hailed as a champion of Iranian media. Some of the main bulk of the explosion must have been here because this place is absolutely charred. And if we look back over there, that actually seems to be the main part of what was the newsroom, with a lot of the desks, computers, printers, phones. You can see how much heat must have been emitted by the impact and by the explosion. The phones that they had here are molten. Here also, the keys molten, this screen, and there's actually someone's lunch still at their desk, standing here, which probably they would have been wanting to eat until they had to evacuate the building. You can see there's a spoon here that's also been melted away by this explosion. All of this is playing very big here in Iran. There's a lot of public anger that the Israelis attacked this site, and certainly the Iranians are saying that they condemn this and that there is going to be revenge for this.
So they really went out of their way to try to convince you that everything they showed you was real. Don't question it, because here's the desk, even going as far as, my favorite part is showing you somebody's lunch, which somehow the missile did not wipe out the lunch. It was probably the news anchor's lunch. You probably put it right there. And a bent spoon right on somebody's desk, right? So we have a melted desk. We have all this stuff, right? And then somehow we see a lunch there because they're trying to, this is how they suck you into the psychosis. They want you to envision yourself sitting at your desk, eating your lunch, and then a bomb going off. And you couldn't even finish yours. You got to get up and you got to run out the door, right? But that brave news anchor, she didn't run out. She came back in and stood up and went back on the air because she's brave and she's standing strong for Iran and Palestine. Is anybody questioning how that lunch is still sitting on the desk? You're telling me a missile went through and not even the smoke from the missile, not even the speed of the missile, not even the debris? It looks perfect. What did somebody just use their thumb and push in the sides a little bit on that soft, that soft tin to make it look like, it was damaged? I could just see them standing there going, hey, why don't we, I got a good idea. Like the Schumann thing, right? I got a good idea. Why don't we put a lunch down by these melted phones? Because then the people at home will see this and they'll think to themselves, oh my gosh, they're just sitting at their desk and suddenly a missile comes through the window. And they get up and they run out the door and all they were trying to do was have their lunch and their phone's melted and the spoon is somehow bent. How is the spoon bent, by the way? The spoon is bent. It's a plastic spoon, right? You're telling me that the spoon didn't fly away. It stayed right in place next to the dish and it just bent on the back. right? There's no debris on it. It's not melted. It's unbelievable. That's how it works. That's how these stories are formulated. They put this stuff out there. They create these heroes. They make these martyrs to bring you into their psychological war. And it doesn't mean that people aren't being hurt. It doesn't mean that there isn't conflict actually going on. But the war that's really occurring isn't between two militaries. The war that's occurring is between civilians. It's almost like when they wipe out these areas we see in America with weather modification, right? They're wiping out areas over there that they're going to rebuild eventually. They look at it like developers. That's really the mindset of these guys. And they are. Because these guys who are responsible for all the wars, these are the corporations behind it, right? It's not really these individual politicians who are just puppets. They look at it like land developers. Hey, we're going to build this here. Well, how do we build it there? Well, we wipe it out. Take LA, for example. How do we get our smart city in time for the Olympics? Well, we ask people to move. Well, they're not going to move. They're not going to give you their land so they could build an Olympic village. Right, they're not. Well, let's just, they have those smart meters on there? Yeah. We have any directed energy weapons too? Yeah. All right, well, let's do the smart meter thing. As, people caught on to the directed energy weapons from Lahaina. So we'll just do the smart meter thing. Everyone who's got one, their house will melt to the ground. The other homes that still survive, that don't have smart meters, who are smart enough to say, hey, I don't want one in my home, they'll still stand, but we'll get them out of the house. They won't be allowed to live in the area because the area is decimated. We'll tell them it's too dangerous to live. Then we'll bulldoze their house, and then we can develop the land. That's pretty much what they do. That's what you're seeing going on over there, right? And then the people who are in the line of fire are the civilians. They're not going after the heads of the Iranian military, okay? They're not going after they're not going after Netanyahu. Just like Zelensky, all we heard about was, oh man, they're trying to get Zelensky, right? Zelensky was underground for a few weeks. Remember those stories? I covered it back when it was occurring. Zelensky's underground, right? But he's showing up at the Grammys. Zelensky's underground, but he's walking the streets with Ben Stiller. He's walking the streets with Sean Penn and Bono. Huh? Isn't he giving up his location? Couldn't they immediately have him sniped or send something over there to kill me? Tell me they still couldn't find Zelensky? I think we all could find him. I mean, he's showing up at the White House. He's showing up at the Oscars. He's at all these award shows. So if Putin wanted to kill him, why wouldn't he kill him? Because it's a show, right? They made Zelensky into a hero. Zelensky standing in the face of Putin. What a hero he is. That's why you see all these suckers with their Ukraine flags outside or their Ukraine flags on their Twitter handles, right? You see this stuff and you just go, how do we get to this point? Well, that's how. Just like the Schumann thing. They create these heroes. This woman from this news anchor, they're creating a hero. They're convincing you of something that's not really happening, which is a war between two countries. They are wiping out territories. They are killing innocent people. There's no doubt about that. But what isn't happening is the stuff they're telling you on the news. Oh, yeah, but they're sending in a missile. That's only, Israel's only trying to target these specific locations where the military are, right? Meanwhile, when you hear about Israel, they go, oh, well, they blew up a hospital. Oh, they blew up apartments. Well, of course, because they want you to think that one side's evil and one side's playing by the rules, right? Martyr one side, make the other side into the villain. But the reality of the matter is they're all villains. They're all doing this to the people. And they never want the people to realize that because the people would band together because there's so many more of us than there are of them. And their power would end. The control they have would end. And yes, they have militaries that they control, but it's always been a numbers game. War is a numbers game. It's always been a numbers game. 7.9 billion people will defeat 1 million people in any war. It doesn't matter if they kill 10 people at once with the weapons that they have. Eventually, you can just trample them. You don't even need weapons. Just run them over, right? They don't want the people to realize that. They want people psychologically sucked in. Then they divide the people even more than they're already divided. Look at the subdivision they've caused when it comes to Israel, right? They're taking guys like Tucker Carlson, who are now pretending to side with Iran. So then people are going, I don't know. Oh, we have Republicans divided over Elon Musk and Trump. We have Republicans divided over, Tucker Carlson or Ben Shapiro. Which one of them? They continue to just break everything down into another denomination until there's so many people divided that nobody will ever band together. And that's exactly what they do with this stuff. So this is just a perfect example of how they create these heroes. Because this is as fake as it gets when it comes to this anchor running out, then coming back on, right? And then making sure in America, we all hear about it. Iranian TV presenter goes back on the air. Who cares? What do we care over here? Oh, we care because they want you emotionally invested in this so that we could be more divided, right? Just like Albert Pike's blueprint. These are characters in war, manufactured just like Zelensky, just like Trump. Whenever the people need a hero, we shall supply him. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you got a good chuckle over the food on the desk. I mean, to me, it's a perfect example. Or how, the anchor doesn't seem nervous with all these bombs going off, by the way. That's always one of my favorite things. It's a danger zone. There's a sirens going off. And the news anchor's like, well, we're safe because of war crime. It'll be a war crime. Well, if you're on Iran, why would you give a crap about a U.S. CNN news anchor or anybody else ever if you're going after people? Oh, well, we won't go after them, but we'll blow up a hospital of Israelis, right? This guy's walking around in a shirt. Looks like he had a nice shower, right? All freshened up, had a nice breakfast. He's walking around. Nobody's trying to kill him. He doesn't seem scared at all. Nobody does in these areas when they do the news clips. And then he just goes, he's like, look, I found the desk. How do you find the desk? How do you know it's not another desk? How do you know it's that specific desk? Don't they have many desks inside of these news stations? They have one desk where everyone's rotating let me get up. My show's come out in 60 seconds. When they sign off, there's another show on. What do you think? They're in the same studio and the guy runs out and the woman runs in? It's a joke. It's another joke. But yeah, he was there. He wasn't scared. He found the desk for everybody and he showed it to you, right? Because what does it do psychologically? What does it do when they show you the food on the desk? Give me an utter break. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families as always.